The year was 1865. The American Civil War, a bloody four-year conflict, was finally drawing to a close. The Confederacy was on the verge of collapse. Union victory seemed imminent. Yet beneath the surface, a current of uncertainty ran through the reunited nation. The war had left deep scars on the American psyche. Families were shattered, cities lay in ruins, and the question of reintegrating the South loomed large. The abolition of slavery brought anxiety and resentment from those who had built their lives on enslaved people. President Abraham Lincoln stood as a beacon of hope and reconciliation. Lincoln was committed to binding up the nation's wounds and forging a new path forward. He believed in a just and lasting peace, extending full citizenship and equal rights to formerly enslaved people. However, Lincoln's vision was not shared by all. As the country celebrated the end of the war, a dangerous undercurrent of anger festered in the hearts of those who refused to accept defeat. It was from this wellspring of bitterness that the seeds of tragedy would be sown. John Wilkes Booth, a renowned actor and Confederate sympathizer, was consumed by the South's defeat. He seethed with resentment for Lincoln, whom he blamed for the war and its devastating consequences. Booth, a man of charisma and vanity, had initially plotted to kidnap Lincoln and hold him hostage in exchange for the release of Confederate prisoners. However, as the war drew to a close and the Confederacy crumbled, Booth's desperation grew. The fall of Richmond, the Confederate capital, shattered his hopes of Southern independence, pushing him further down a path of radicalism. His anger towards Lincoln intensified, metamorphosing into a burning desire for revenge. Booth's plan took a sinister turn. He abandoned the idea of kidnapping and settled on a far more drastic and irreversible course of action: assassination. He gathered a group of like-minded conspirators, each fueled by their own twisted motivations and blind rage. This group, united by their hatred for Lincoln and his vision of a reconstructed nation, would become instrumental in carrying out Booth's deadly scheme. Consumed by his warped sense of purpose, Booth saw himself as a hero, a righteous avenger striking down a tyrant. Blinded by his own distorted reality, he failed to grasp the magnitude of his actions, the devastating consequences that would ripple through history. On the evening of April 14, 1865, just days after the Confederate surrender at Appomattox, President Lincoln and his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, attended a performance of Our American Cousin at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. The president had been working tirelessly, and the play seemed like a welcome respite. The Lincolns settled into their box with Major Henry Rathbone and Clara Harris. The atmosphere was festive, the audience eager for entertainment. John Wilkes Booth, fueled by whiskey and hatred, stealthily approached the presidential box. He peered through a peephole, gauging the position of the president. During a moment of laughter, Booth slipped into the box unnoticed. He raised his derringer and aimed at Lincoln's head. A shot rang out, sending shockwaves through the theater. The bullet tore through Lincoln's brain, lodging behind his right eye. The president slumped forward, his body falling limp against Mary's. Chaos erupted. Section 4. A Nation in Mourning. The Aftermath of Lincoln's Death. Panic seized the theater. Screams pierced the air as the audience, jolted from their amusement, scrambled for the exits. Mary Todd Lincoln, witnessing the horrific act, let out a piercing wail that echoed through the stunned silence. Major Rathbone, grappling with the assassin, was slashed in the arm by Booth's knife before the assailant leaped from the balcony, shouting, "Sic semper tyrannis! Thus always to tyrants!" The commotion drew the attention of Dr. Charles Leal, a young army surgeon who rushed to the presidential box. He found Lincoln unresponsive, his breathing shallow and irregular. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Dr. Leal had the president carried across the street to the Peterson House, a boarding house directly opposite the theater. As news of the shooting spread like wildfire through the capital, a sense of disbelief and horror gripped the nation. People poured into the streets, their faces etched with grief and disbelief. How could this have happened? How could their leader, their savior, be struck down at the very moment of victory? Section 5. The Hunt for John Wilkes Booth. Justice Pursued. Meanwhile, John Wilkes Booth, his leg broken in the escape, had fled into the night. A massive manhunt ensued, with soldiers and law enforcement officers fanning out across the countryside, determined to bring the assassin to justice. For 12 long days, Booth and his accomplice, David Harold, evaded capture, seeking refuge in the swamps and forests of Maryland and Virginia. The nation held its breath. the specter of Lincoln's assassination hanging heavy in the air. Finally, on April 26th, Booth and Harold were cornered in a tobacco barn near Port Royal, Virginia. Harold surrendered, but Booth refused to come out. Determined to capture the assassin alive, the soldiers set fire to the barn. As flames engulfed the structure, a shot rang out. Booth, shot through the neck by Sergeant Boston Corbett, lay dying on the barn floor. His reign of terror, born of hate and delusion, had come to an end. Section 6. Lincoln's Enduring Legacy, the Impact of an Assassination. The nation mourned the loss of Abraham Lincoln with a depth of sorrow seldom witnessed before. Millions lined the railroad tracks as his funeral train made its way from Washington, D.C. to his final resting place in Springfield, Illinois. The assassination sent shockwaves through the country, leaving an indelible mark on the American psyche. Lincoln's death not only plunged the nation into mourning but also threw the process of Reconstruction into disarray. His successor, Andrew Johnson, lacked Lincoln's political skills and commitment to racial equality. As a result, Reconstruction efforts faltered, leaving the promise of equal rights for formerly enslaved people largely unfulfilled. Yet, from the ashes of tragedy, Lincoln's legacy grew stronger. His eloquence, compassion, and unwavering belief in the promise of America resonated deeply with a nation grappling with loss and uncertainty. He became a martyr for the cause of freedom and unity, his words and deeds etched into the fabric of American history. Section 7. A Martyr for Freedom, Lincoln's Enduring Place in American History. In the annals of American history, Abraham Lincoln stands as a towering figure, his life and legacy forever intertwined with the tumultuous era in which he lived. His assassination, a stark reminder of the fragility of democracy and the enduring power of hate, served to further elevate his stature, transforming him into a symbol of perseverance, integrity, and unwavering commitment to the ideals of equality and justice. Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, a masterpiece of brevity and eloquence, became a sacred text, its words etched into the hearts of generations of Americans. His Emancipation Proclamation, a beacon of hope for millions held in bondage, cemented his place as a champion of human rights. While his life was cut tragically short, Lincoln's impact on the nation he led remains immeasurable. His legacy continues to inspire us to strive for a more perfect union, to embrace compassion and understanding, and to never waver in our pursuit of a government of the people, by the people, for the people.